for joining me today, Riccardo.
Hi, Tobias. Thank you for inviting me, and hi to all the listeners.
I think many of my listeners would also already be aware of your work. I think there's a lot of overlap between my audience and your audience on Substack. But still, could you put a few words on the intelligent friend and what you're currently working on in that regard?
Yeah, naturally, I'm thrilled about it, and thank you again for having me today. I am Riccardo Vocca. I'm the author of The Intelligent Friend, a newsletter about AI. I talk about AI and how it changed our life, our thinking, our behaviors through scientific research. In every issue, I try to explain one study or more studies and also some impressions about it, some feelings, and some insights in a very straight to the point way, and I hope very clear way. And it's scientific focused, so we have insights based on science, but there are also some personal reflections sometimes.
And you have been writing for a while now, and you had some success with it.
Uh,
What made you consider to start a Substack newsletter?
Uh, it was April, I think, 2024. I've always had the idea about writing a newsletter. It was not my first project, but I always says that it is my first serious project on Substack. And I want to learn about AI and what scientific research says about AI. So it was my opportunity to learn and also to share what I was learning with other people interested in science, AI, psychology, social psychology, and all the perspectives that I try to get into my newsletters issues. Um, so it was the first motivation. And then I discovered the wonderful thing about writing on Substack and meeting great people like you and other writers' work like your newsletter. And so now I'm here and I'm more enthusiastic than ever.
Awesome. And Substack is also American based, which you can tell there's a
Yeah.
lot of there's a huge American
Yes.
audience. While the European audience is not that big yet, maybe it will change in time. Who knows? One thing we have in common is that we are both Europeans. You're from Italy. I'm from Denmark. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel from your experience and from your friends' experience and from your studies and from your work? How do you think that Italy is adopting AI compared to, whatever, like what we hear in the news? Do you think Italy is up on the beat in that regard?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Naturally, Europe is a bit behind US when it comes to technology and in general, all the pop culture trends and all the great trends in the world, maybe. In Italy, AI is naturally a hot topic, also in news coverage, in business projects, also, I think, in research. The adoption from a consumer perspective maybe is not so high and as high as in the US, okay, or in other countries. For example, I think that Germany, Denmark, and other European countries are doing well related to AI and compared to Italy. But I think that especially Gen Z and millennials have a really clear perspective and figure of what AI is and what AI, and specifically, I would say generative AI can do for them. And I have many colleagues or friends that, for example, says, "Oh, ChatGPT is my partner for doing many activities, like, for example, summing up documents or these kind of things."
And it's the same experience I have in Denmark. Naturally, people are very excited about this amazing technology, and there's so much we can do with it. On the other hand, there's also some ethical concerns and some legal concerns, and that's the part I mostly write about and what I'm most interested in. When I talk to my friends and with my families about it, they don't really get it. So I would say in Denmark, on the AI adoption front, we're in a pretty good place. But when it comes to like the more general concerns about using AI and some of the safety concerns and so forth. This is not something people talk about. How do you think it is in Italy in that regard?
Yeah, I think that there is a big space from generations. I think that Gen Z and millennials are approaching this technology with more curiosity than fear, and this relationship is reverse related to other generations like Generation X, generation of boomers, the so-called boomers, a positive way, not a negative way, but boomers, and other generations. I think that is a matter of consumption. I think also a matter of consumption, in my personal view and in my opinion, because Gen Z, for example, and part of the Gen Z, is using AI for many things. There is this interesting report by Capgemini that is a consultancy firm, also is very focused on technology and technology consultancy, that which name is Why Consumers Love Generative AI is 2023, I think. And there are there is infographic in which there is a complete day of a consumer in which generative AI is used from the beginning of the day to the end. So, for example, there is this consumer that starts the day by listening meditation created thanks to generative AI. Then he is going to work and he's doing something. For example, he's used a software for managing emails with AI. And then, for example, in the end of the day, he's cooking with the recipe generated by, sorry, ChatGPT, Claude, or other chatbots. I think that this is a very interesting thing, and naturally studying marketing, I focus on this perspective. But there are many things, many aspects, because this is a huge trend, a huge technology that could be naturally the focus of the conversations and the conversations of many things and many people.
What are you personally most excited and most worried about when it comes to AI?
This is a very deep and great question. I think that this augmentation of the identity is maybe my favorite thing, you know? And there is this personal experience I would like to share with your listeners and your readers. I'm from Italy, and I love American sports and American culture. Okay, so for example, the NFL, but in Italy, NFL is not so popular because in Italy there are two religions, God and soccer or football, if you prefer. Okay, so football in terms of soccer, so the what Americans call soccer, and football is not so popular, American football, so the NFL. And I use generative AI, specifically ChatGPT, to learn about the NFL. I create this coach that is called Tucker because in honor of the character of Modern Family. Uh, uh,
What
and
was his
is
name from Modern?
Cameron Tucker, the character of Modern Family, that
Who
is
is
a
that?
coach.
And he's a coach. Okay.
Yeah, in during the series is university football coach. So I named these chatbots created with ChatGPT Tucker, and I use it as a coach to learn about NFL, to learn about football, and not only about rules, okay, because something that you can learn also through YouTube videos, guides, books, but specifically about tactics, specifically about tactical schemes, strategies, the most important players, how, for example, is deep intertwined in the American culture, the football and watching football with other people. So I think this is great. On the other hand, there are a lot of concerns, many concerns regarding, for example, I think one of the most interesting thing and most blurred aspect about generative AI and AI is the intellectual property. Uh, a popular technique using generative AI is writing as someone. Okay, for example, write this paragraph um, like Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favorite writers. Okay, but Malcolm Gladwell has rights about what you're writing or not. And naturally, there are a lot of concerns regarding biases and how we can reduce biases. I think maybe the most important thing in this beginning use and also beginning spread of generative AI specifically is the over-reliance and the possibility of people over-relying on the chatbot. But I think also it's part of the experimentation with these tools.
Yeah, that's a very good example that you made, like a soccer coach. That's more of a kind of personalized AI. And that is something, there's character AI, which is very popular among young people and Generation Z. And it's a
Yeah,
kind of,
also, sorry for interrupting. I wanted also to ask you if you have ever created this kind of coach or a chatbot with some tools or not.
I have a very good relationship with Claude,
Ah,
the chatbot.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, the,
and
the AI
that's all I
for
really need.
inside. The New York Times says that is the AI for AI insiders,
Right,
Claude.
right. I saw that article and I actually started using it
Okay,
before that. I just always felt more connected to Claude than ChatGPT and any of the other ones. I don't know why, but it's very polite and
okay.
it's very emotional. So, it feels like it can pick up on emotions in some weird way. It's a delight to speak with it, to be honest.
Great. And I was thinking also while you were talking that there is this other chatbot that uh, is not so popular also because I think its cognitive skills are not so developed in my user experience. So I'm talking as a user and not as a developer because I'm not an engineer or an AI engineer. Um, this is PI. I don't know if you know it. Maybe yes. Okay. It's branded like the most emotional generative AI chatbot. I also wrote a piece about it, or in a part of an issue. And it's interesting how also these chatbots are trying to differentiate themselves beyond the technological advancements because okay, Claude, ChatGPT, and other are differentiated for their capabilities, but when these capabilities become closer and closer, how consumers will choose about it, how consumers will choose, for example, Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini when Gemini will reach the capabilities of these two. So I think it's a very branding question, branding related question, but it's very interesting.
It's almost like social media. Like
Yeah,
X is for right-leaning people, and Blue Sky is for left-leaning people, and LinkedIn is for professionals. It's kind of the same thing with AI. There's like a bit for each taste.
yeah. I think this parallel is great also because maybe we have some ideas and some stimuli about it. For example, there is this famous campaign, already famous, I think, by Claude, where Claude is presented as an augmentation of your ideas, while ChatGPT has not maybe already done something like communication campaigns, no? So it's Claude that is preferred by AI insiders, but now is talking to other people maybe who are using ChatGPT. So it's very interesting also these differences about communication and the parallel with social media is very interesting, also stimulating for deflection for brand managers, I think, and so on.
Hmm. That's something I've thought quite a lot about how social media relates to AI because when we really think about it, AI is kind of a continuation of social media. Now I'm going to be a bit uh, direct about my views on social media, but social media collects a lot of user data, and this user data today is used to train AI. So that's something I've been thinking about, that social media kind of harvest our data, um, gather it into AI, and then AI is the company's way of kind of using social media. So it's kind of something built on top of that ecosystem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think it will be very interesting also understand how these companies will build an ecosystem themselves. For example, ChatGPT is the most used chatbot, and referring to what you were just saying, but also there is also great importance of the business to business part of OpenAI. If you go to, and also I'm talking naturally to the listeners of this podcast, if you go to the OpenAI section, stories, there are many stories of companies that are using ChatGPT for many corporate things and many corporate activities. And also they are building and have built partnership with OpenAI. There is the famous case of Moderna, there is the famous case of Klarna, but a lot of companies, many companies, for example, companies of consumer goods, pharmaceutical, because AI is very promising also for the chemistry and the all the biological prospects and aspects and so on. So it is very interesting. Refer to what you were just saying, the ecosystem that these companies will build and I think also that partnerships with other companies, for example, financial services, consumer goods, and so on, will become important than ever. I think it will be very important to build partnership with companies in other sectors more than in other technology competitions and markets, I think.
And it seems to me like, let's say chatbots, as we have used for a couple of years now, chatbots, they are great, and we have kind of implemented them into our lives now. But for me as a user, I'm pretty satisfied about where it is now, you know? I don't need it to get much better than it is right now. So the companies are starting to think in new directions. And OpenAI is, of course, setting the pace still to some extent. And we'll have AI agents, and we'll have AI that can be used for research. In my understanding, these are the kind of two main research directions that is going on right now. Um, AI for research is already here. We have O3, or we actually don't have O3, but we have heard about it, and its capabilities has been documented by OpenAI. And already now we can kind of speak of super intelligence with, kind of not really, but it's getting there. At least we can say that these AI models are already smarter than the most knowledgeable experts in their domain fields. That's pretty amazing. Um, of course, if we generalize, so I'm talking about, of course, test results, very narrow test results. You could not just hire an AI as a scientist and expect that AI to do the same job as a scientist can do. But still, even on a benchmark test, it's impressive that AI models can now perform better than almost any human can. So we're getting to something that can resemble super intelligence. Then we have AI agents where AI will be more personalized, and AI can start to do tasks on our behalf. Which one of these two directions would you say that you're most excited about or most interested in?
Mm, Personally, I think that the augmentation path is the most interesting thing, and also I think the preferable, but it is a complete um a first approach. perspective and opinion. Uh, AI is a tool, and how we can use this tool to improve our capabilities and results. This is, I think, the focus of many reflections and also the great work of many great minds and exceptional scientists and so on. So naturally, uh, it's not a completely or in general maybe good thing to substitute human workers for some tasks. The real path, the path to actually pursue is augmenting the human capabilities and helping people with tasks they are doing by maybe enabling and empowering, maybe is a better term, to do it this task well. And I think that the work of a great scientist like Cemoglu, Nobel Prize for Economy, or Luciano Floridi, that is professor of Yale of Law and Philosophy, is very inspirational and enlightening in this sense.
Okay, augmenting human capabilities. I actually like that expression a lot. That is kind of what we're doing if we take in a very broad interpretation of that word. For instance, I'm writing a book at the moment. I'm using AI a lot. Like I'm using AI to correct my language and to ask questions that I would usually do on Google search maybe, but AI is a lot quicker. So I can constantly like fact check myself and check up on my language and knowledge and so forth. You could already say that that's kind of an AI augmentation. Is that what you imagine, or do you imagine something
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
wilder than that?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there are many ways and many possibilities to which this augmentation, that naturally is a term largely used also by scientists of all fields. And I will use also this occasion to say that one of the most fascinating thing about AI is that is generating brilliant, enlightening, also divergent reflections about the possibilities, the uses, the cases, the relationships with consumers. So many aspects that I think there is a lot of material to read. This is very interesting and enlightening in this sense. For example, about the augmentation phenomenon and the augmentation perspective, naturally, also is also a matter of opinions. There are also a lot of discussions that I'm reading also to learn, because naturally I'm only in this part of my life a research assistant, but I also try to understand how scientists and great scientists think, write, learn, work about these topics. And yes, augmentation, maybe in the sense of what other writers and other scientists have written, is something that could be the simple chatbot to learn NFL, or the chatbot to write a book, or another chatbot application and so on to build a new molecule to maybe create a new drug. Okay, so I think is a matter of first of all of the relationship between the user and the tool, and then what is the use, which is the specific use that the user is undertaking uh, under this his perspective, sorry, uh, is the great naturally focus, but it can be different from fields or companies and so on.
And what kind of use case for AI are you most excited about? It can either be something that you're using it for now, or it could be something that you imagine you would use it for in a few years.
Mm, no, I think I always tell also I I talk about this with my friends, because we have similar backgrounds but different opinion, different uses, and also divergent and different paths related to our jobs. Um, I think that experimenting is always, sorry, the best way and the best thing to do. For example, I don't use AI for writing my newsletter. but I use it for learning about a lot of things. Another really practical example, I don't know how to make the caramel cream, uh, the for a lot of or other recipes. Okay, I'm not a great chef. Okay, but I use ChatGPT to tell me the steps of also great and very difficult recipes that ChatGPT naturally makes more simple and easier. Okay, so experimenting and trying to have a curious approach to these tools can be also a great way to use them for people who are skeptics or maybe insecure about the possibilities of them.
That's a good way to see it. It makes me think that AI is kind of a different way to access the internet. Instead of search engines and browsing around on websites, we can just ask a AI and we'll get our knowledge in that way. So, in some sense, what you're talking about is a different way of receiving knowledge. That's also how I use AI. I'm also a bit concerned both about all these implications that can come from having AI do work for us. That's also something you said, that you use AI as a tool. You don't use it for doing your work, for instance, say writing. I think me nor you would ever use an AI to write an article. We can get some, feedback from an AI, or we could get some corrections or some knowledge or some information. But we would prefer to do the work ourselves. So I am a bit concerned about, which direction this is going. What are your thoughts on that? Where do you think the
Mm,
direction is going?
yeah, one of the stimulating and intriguing thing maybe about the AI usage, specifically about generative AI, is this, uh, I think, divergence. Uh, I would say also opposition, maybe, about how much people actually use AI and how people declare to use AI. For example, a lot of people maybe use AI to generate emails or the text of documents, and they are not disclosing it. Okay, and why? The question is why? Is the fear of judgments uh, by other people? Is a sort of sense of guilty for using AI instead of doing actually that thing? Is because you're judging that that output is inferior in your mind than what you could reach maybe applying your intelligence, human intelligence? Is naturally there uh, are emerging a lot of brilliant studies and a lot of pieces of research about this thing. For example, there is this sense of guilty that maybe could emerge as an interesting path also to investigate for researchers. Okay, but this disclose not disclose thing is very interesting. I don't know, maybe also in your experience you have some examples about people that will say, also friends that, for example, friends that say, okay, I use the AI for this document, but I have not said that because I felt insecure about it. No, yeah, I don't know if also in your experience there are examples in daily life, I think.
For sure. I have noticed that some of my friends are beginning to write way better on LinkedIn and other social media posts. And obviously, that's because they're using AI. Um, and I can see it, I don't even have to confront them with it. It's obvious. But it reminds me again of social media, like back in the days when people still, like, I don't use Instagram anymore that much, but you know, on Instagram, you kind of show one side of your life. You show all the high moments where you're drinking champagne and, looking out of the ocean or going to parties or whatever, because that's what you want people to see. You don't let people see the other side where you're at home feeling hungover or depressed or whatever, you know. So this kind of way of portraying yourself, period, that's something that's become very common again because of social media's influence. And how does that link to AI? I think that um, for one thing, I think people use AI. I think people say they use AI differently than they actually do. Let's say that some guy writes a social media post and tells people that he uses AI to do all his programming. He's a programmer and he doesn't need to do anything because he can make AI do it. But in reality, that is probably not the case. Um, that's a kind of what I also took away from what you were just saying, that people are kind of over exaggerating just a little bit about how they can use AI. And of course, it's easier to not disclose if they're actually using AI to do some work they take credit for. In my experience, I could never imagine lying about something like that. I don't know if that's just pride or if it's I don't know. I don't know. To me, it would feel very weird to present something generated by AI and then take full credit for it. I think you feel the same way, right?
Yes, and also this is strictly, I think, connected to the topic of AI generated art, AI generated images, and all the deep and great enlightening, often reflections about what does it mean to be human and what are the human outputs that define us. Um, so I think also there are some interior, deeply interior reflections about this thing. Maybe in this phase, the not disclosing phenomenon is strictly connected with the social judgments of people and is natural, is normal, okay? Also because it's a new technology. Now it's spreading around people. So, but naturally is an interesting phenomenon to observe, study, investigate, you know, for also understanding the drivers of the usage of new things and new technologies, especially when these technologies are radical, like artificial intelligence. For example, we, together with Eric Catas, that is an author on Substack of New Things, a newsletter that explores specifically our relationship with new things. I suggest to listeners to read what Eric is writing on Substack. We wrote about this thing and how people, based from our experience, okay, personal experience, uh, can use AI and can approach AI, especially if they have never done that before. And this disclosing, not disclosing theme is a topic. It is maybe a not topic, you know.
Do you think that people can be excused for not disclosing that you've used AI for a project?
I don't know if excused, but I think maybe that could be considered a normal phase of the usage of a radical technology. You know, because it's something truly new, especially for people that, for example, I was reading this article where these people, these authors, uh, were doing a good reflection about how they were from they were born in 60s. So they work uh, their daily work evolved to the written things, to computer things, and then artificial intelligence things. Okay, so is naturally also our exploration of our relationship with these tools and especially chatbots and so on, to bring with them this kind of disclosing aspects and so on.
And I think that's a good success criteria to put up. Does AI make life easier for people or does it not make life easier? I think that's what it's all about. And if AI is not able to make life easier, but actually makes it harder, then it has not succeeded, in my opinion. And
Yeah, I think also, sorry.
oh, please, please.
No, I also that is that is why Substack issues or articles that try to explain how actually everyday people are trying to use AI are very popular because people want something honest, sincere, brutal maybe about the interaction with these tools. And this transparency help them to also maybe overcome the initial obstacles and initial barriers to not an adoption, but an initial experimentation.
Yeah, that's so true. So the intelligent friend, what can we expect here this year?
The intelligent friend, thank you for this question because this is a crucial year, not only because this will be the second year of the intelligent friend, but it will be the birthday of my newsletter in April 2025. Uh, a lot of other science-based issue because my newsletter is a place to learn. First of all, for myself, okay, and to share what I learn. I'm not here uh, to other things that learning, experimenting, trying things, and sharing my opinions about naturally what, for example, I found very interesting, but especially what I learned about science, artificial intelligence, and so on. But also other personal reflections, as I was just telling you, and maybe some other collaborative articles. Okay, so you will find AI uh, mm, topics, sorry, issues about AI. Okay, science-based, so insights and so on. Personal reflections, collaborative articles, all things that you can find interesting, I hope, and I think about AI, artificial intelligence, and from a social, psychological, creative point of view. So we not cover in the intelligent friend the technical aspects, but there are great newsletters about technical aspects of AI on Substack, but the social, the psychological, the more also often the creative part of these tools based on scientific insight, scientific research.
Awesome. With these words, I want to thank you for your time. It's been a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Tobias, for inviting me. I really appreciate the work you're doing, not only in the written form, but now also in the audio form. Thank you for your insights, and I hope that your listeners found this conversation interesting and insightful as all of your issues.
Thank you. Bye.